Recently, patches of the planet have undergone a severe deforestation. Shamingly, this is mankind's fault because I shaved part of my head. Um, yeah, that's right, folks. I died laughing because somebody I labeled yesterday's thing "Turn Off the Lights" part of it. Like I kind of knew somebody was going to do it by the end of the day because the actual title was "Turn Out the Lights." But I figured, screw it. Nobody knows I'm here. I'll put whatever I want in the title. um, I'm a little bit phlegmy today. I got to change the filter in my CPAP machines. What that means? That and the air quality. Good morning, folks. It's another day here from the parking lot. And no, the news is not getting any better. I hate it when they drag this shit out. Well, why don't they just come out and say, look, this is what's happening, and they won't? Because they're hoping to pull out a last-minute miracle is the only thing I can figure. I got... Hang on a second. Got a little phlegm in my throat. Sucks, don't it? Just like, we're all sitting here gagging on our way, on our hopes and expectations. But no, I genuinely think the show's over. At least for now. I love that you got RTD out doing all these interviews and he's not saying shit about what's going on with the show. And like I said, I got one set of reports saying they've already started dismantling the TARDIS set. Now, originally they were saying this a few months ago, but now I'm hearing, no, it has started happening. Now, could this be because they're going to put in, a new thing with a new doctor coming in? That's what I'd like to believe, really, but Mothman, I'm on the fence about. The reason being is, for one, Mothman's not been spotted in decades, and even then, I'm beginning to believe that Mothman was more urban legend than anything. Whereas with Bigfoot, we have actual physical evidence with thousands of footprints that couldn't be fake because they have compression lines around the thing, which means this is a foot actually working. You have dermal ridges on some of these things that, okay, if it's a fake foot, it wouldn't have compression lines. Plus the fact that it would take you with a laser like days to go carve out dermal ridges. The ones they found that complex. We do have hair samples that came out of Bhutan near in the area where they go over by Tibet that came up primate of unknown species that did not match anything in the world database. And also, we have several other branches of man we've been discovering. As we've gone through the years, we go back and look, and there's how many species of man were living on the planet at the same time now. And the thing of the matter is, who's to say they died out? Like, we used to think Neanderthals were stupid. They used to call a person a Neanderthal, that meant you're a dumbass. But then we find out, wait a minute, Neanderthals had on average like 200 more cc's of brain than we had, and they just simply had it tucked into an occipital bun, or the occipital bun, I mean. And also, it turns out Neanderthals were probably the ones doing cave paintings, and possibly had burial rituals, which means if they're burying their dead, especially in the forest, highly acidic soil, you're not going to find a body. And if they also have anywhere near our intelligence, they know better than to come near us. I'm not kidding. Look up the stories on how long it took them to bring in a live panda. And the pandas are dumber than a bag of hammers. They're black and white in their green environment. And it's not like they're, running like cheetahs. So that's what, plus you do have the Patterson Gimlin film, which none of the guys, you still got that guy claiming he was the one in the suit. Yeah, but why is it we can take a picture of you and a picture of that creature, and your joints don't line up at all. Also, the guy can never tell you exactly where it happened. We know exactly where that incident happened. And when National Geographic took the original film, digitally scanned it in frame by frame, and then they enhanced it just like we do any other film these days, you could see muscles moving under the skin, which is high. There was no suit that could be made in that era that could do that. Lycra wasn't around yet, and also, if it is a guy, why'd they give him really big hooters? We go, why add that detail? But that's just me. Like I said, there's a lot of things out there that are just urban legends. So you got to be careful when you do the research on these things. There's people out there who want things to be real. It's like, I want evidence. I want to see something that says, okay, this could be going on. With Mothman, there's plenty of eyewitness testimony, and and also there's some people who claim that they had certain conditions that were caused by looking into this thing's eyes. But at the same time, there's no photos, there's no there's no tracks. So that's why I lean more towards urban legend. But back onto the subject of speaking of cryptids, Doctor Who. Okay, one of the things I always tell people to do, and I got this line from Jim Mars, when you're looking at things, always remember to put on your skepticals. Okay? Always keep your... I know, Ella Purnell's eyes, I'm not kidding, just like Jenna Coleman's. When she she does surgery, they go, oh my God, how do you do that with the eyes? They look bigger. Also, Ella has a lot of interesting tattoos. But okay, that's just me. All right. But let's get back to Doctor Who. It's been weeks now since the last episode aired. Nobody's saying anything. That right there has got me worried. Because if the news had been positive, you'd have had headlines blaring everywhere from here to the Yucatan. And I'm looking in the wrong place for a button. Hang on a second. I'm going to get a little airflow through here because people are going to think I'm rocking the ganja in here if this thing this fog keeps piling up from the vapor. But okay, let's get back to English, which I sometimes speak. All right. We'd have been hearing positive reviews all over the place. Doctor Who did win another, a critics award of some type. But the problem is, awards don't mean jack shit if your show's not renewed. And the word is, like I said, we've heard everything from the BBC are scrambling to save the show and try to find a way to fund it themselves. Okay, but that means, guess what? That means if Bad Wolf's pulling out, which I don't know if it's going to happen, well, let's say they are, there goes a big chunk of the co-production money. But everything indicates to me Bad Wolf's getting ready to say, for what they're putting out there, we've got a lot of studio space available, which tells me either they've pulled out or they've pretty much called it over. Yeah, people are always on me. Why aren't you watching the new Star Trek? It's not my thing. I'm not going to sit there and watch something till I complain about it. Like, the Nardy, the drunkard, and the rotten canal, and the tarred Roddick, and all these other morons who make a living off being miserable and making other people miserable. Hang on a second. I would even count Fezman on getting a Christmas special. And that's another thing. Why do people seem to think that they're going to get a special of some kind? I wouldn't even count on Children in Need this year. Okay? I want to hear something that's going to say something's going to happen, because so far there's no filming going on. There are some people I know out there who have people who've worked in the industry who've already said, look, I'm not getting any phone calls from the people who do Doctor Who this year. Okay? Which means there's no current production plans for that show. Because they've already been getting phone calls if that was the case. Saying, look, we'd like you to come in and work on this production. And that's not happened. It's been one big quiet lull since the last episode of the Got What Era aired. And, well, I should call it RTD2 because it almost sounds like I'm talking about Star Wars, RTD2, R2TD2. Oh, man. I'm not looking forward to anything related to Star Trek since the Kelvin timeline was given a pass, and no thanks. I'd like to prefer to remember my Trek as it was when it was good. It's just not capitalizing on storylines and shit the original series did like 50 years ago. Or going on 60 years ago, you're right. Like I said, if you want to watch it, that's your thing. I'm not going to. I have no interest in it. I have no interest in watching characters I grew up with being retooled for the modern era and having the entire history screwed up. Like I said, that's me. It's just, I'm not going to be like them guys who are watching a show just to say they completely effed this up. Well, in some cases, Doctor Who did, but that wasn't changing the storylines that pissed me off. It was when they started changing characters from the original series they brought back that screwed me up. But, like, I quit watching anything related to the Kelvin timeline after Into Arsonist because I'm like, I was really hoping they were going to do Gary Mitchell because that would have made more sense. But no, they turned Benedict Cumberbatch into Khan Noonien Singh. Benedict Cumberbatch, the most whitest English guy on the planet, became Khan Noonien Singh. Doctor Strange became Khan Noonien Singh. A guy who's so white he makes Barry Manilow look like a brother became Khan Noonien Singh. Yeah, where were the calls of appropriation and all that stuff back then? But and the whole plot line of that movie was stupid. But oh well. But once again, until I hear otherwise, I think we're pretty much on an indefinite hiatus. Yeah, the magic blood. Sorry, I'm just watching some folks tear their way in here. I'm not kidding. They might as well hang a sign outside this place sometimes that says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," because, the mood is just sometimes dismal. But I don't know. Like I said, I've just not been bitten by the bug to even finish the one I started. And for audio series, I got a lot of ideas. I've been writing them down here and there. But one of the big things is this. When you have a cast, and like I said, I don't like bugging people, especially because I'm not paying them. And it got to the point in one part of the one series that it was just, I'm raring to go. I'm getting my lines laid down, and then it would be weeks before I get lines for a scene. And finally, it turned me off. And I was like, so I'm not blaming them, but like I said, I just lost that urge to actually go through with this again. And I've had a few ideas for a few stories, but like I said, it's just the bug really has not bit me to do another. But okay, all right, we haven't quite hit the time yet. Why are they trying to do Street Fighter? Didn't they like really screw that up the first time around? And sadly, that was the last movie we got from an incredible actor. Oh, great. Sorry, my brain just blanked. It's going to hit me in a minute, and I'm going to feel like a dumb dick. Sometimes this happens where your brain blanks out on you. But that was his last movie ever. And it's on the tip of my mind. It's going to hit me. I can feel the name coming. Well, it's not exactly a reboot for The Naked Gun. It's going to be a continuation. I hate it when, Raul Julia. See, it just popped into my head. And I hope I got his name right. Tell me I got his name right? Like I said, I'm having one of them things where, But his last movie, he plays M. Bison because he wanted to do something for the kids, I guess. And am I even in the right neighborhood? He played Gomez Adams. Raul Julia, right? Okay, sometimes, if I haven't done an actor or mentioned his name in a while, it gets filed back here on the backup hard drive. And you know how long it takes to get that shit from a backup hard drive. So, but his last movie, was Street Fighter. One of the greatest Latino actors I've ever seen in my life. Shakespeare-trained actor. And Street Fighter was his swan song. But still, amazing actor. But I got to get inside. I just looked at the time. I am way over. So please, be kind, be calm, be safe. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your Tuesday. Hopefully, we'll start getting some news on what's actually going on with this show. But I highly doubt it. They're going to try to keep it quiet until they can pull a miracle out of their ass. So, have a good one, everyone. Enjoy your day.